Now, folks, last but not least, we're going to look at the Lely Calm automatic calf feeder. There's a huge number of calf feeders in Ireland, well-established product. It's not actually made by Lely, this particular product. It's a German machine called a Foster Technic. There's 600 to 700 of these installed working in Ireland at the moment. Our most common seller is a 2-station feeder, but this exact same machine, the model we sell, you can have up to 4 stations on the one machine. There is now an option whereby you can have all 4 stations feeding at the one time, if that's important to you. It can feed up to 35 calves per station. You know, I would say that's the upper limit. I'd be more comfortable at 30, but we have a lot of customers doing 35. Actually, the video you're going to see after this of Dennis Condren, he's 35 calves per station on his for a number of years and getting on very, very well. You'll see in this particular setup on the picture is quite common, where this client installed it on a mobile crate that he can just lift with his pallet forks, and once he doesn't need the calf shed anymore, it's repurposed for something else, and the calf feeder is lifted up and moved into storage until following spring. So huge labour saver. Calves do better. They get the amount of milk they need at the right temperature, the right volume on a regular basis. So you can push calves quite hard. One of the real benefits of the Foster Technic machine is you've a lot of different programs you can choose from. You can feed bulls and heifers differently. Very user interface, and it's a reputation for the best cleaning and the best hygiene system in the market. So which is very important with a calf feeder, that there's a very good wash system, which thankfully we have proven reliability over a long number of years. And as I mentioned already, you have the option of feeding all calves at the one time.
The calf feeder, we got it in 5 years ago, and we changed over. The first year we had the calves on milk, and the workload was getting too much, like, you know, so we got in this anyway, and we got in at the start with 2 stations, and we had 70 calves on it, you know, and the following, it's only this year, maybe 2 years later, we extended the shed, so we keep all the calves now, and we got in the 3rd station, you know, so just to save the workload. But we have 100 and, what is there, there's 140 calves reared on it this year. We started off, say, in January, and again, say, March, you'd be winning off calves and there'd be new ones coming in on it, so it done the job for us for the year. Everything's automated here, so we're dependent on them a lot, like, and the backup service with the robots and the Discovery and with the Lely calf feeder. Usually probably before we start feeding, say first week of January or whatever, the boys from Lely would come out and service the feeder, and they'd go through it, like, and the whole year, the season starts then, like, no breakdowns, because you'd have calves roaring and going mad, say, if it did break down. But up to now, like, this is our 5th year with it, and we've had no major issues with it. So the backup service is crucial, like, and to get it serviced every year. And once you get it serviced in new pipes and whatever, it's ready to go then. To go and get it serviced and have it right, then you're going to have no breakdowns. The chances are very slim that anything will happen during the peak season. We start off like we start off there in that pen, and there'd be 35 calves. We'd start off like with 35 calves on each station. We start them there and move them on to this one, and then out to the one out there. And there'd be 35 calves in each station, and before we'd finish putting calves on it, we'd be weighing off, say, the ones that started off first. So there'd be always plenty of room. You wouldn't want to go any more than 35 on a station. That's the max, and it does 35 and does it well. Well, between the robots, the Discovery and the calf feeder, going forward, we have them here. We're 6 years here milking at the minute, and they're still going as well as ever, like, you know. With the backup crew and the servicing and all that, I think is crucial. And there's spare parts or whatever, like, but They don't seem to be wearing, there's no wear and tear much on them, do you know, once they're kept serviced.
Just before we go into our live question and answer session, and see there's a lot of questions come through already, so we'll do our best to get through them. Just make you aware that there's some very good grants available at the moment. It's a bit uncertain whether they're going to be available at the end of this year. So if you are considering investing in some products like these, I would try to get my application in for early November. On the Lely Discovery, for the standard farmer, the grant is a little over €5,000. That's a 40% grant. If for a young farmer, it's a 60% grant. So what a lot of clients would do is they would finance the remainder. So it works out about €5.70 per day on a 5-year finance plan. So for €5.70 per day, you can have the standard machine, clean your yard 10 to 12 times, cleaner cows, cleaner floors, cleaner cubicles, maybe less lameness, maybe lower cell counts. If you're a younger farmer and you can get the 60% grant, that can be down as low as €4 a day. So very good scheme. I strongly urge you to consider it if you're thinking of investing in the next 18 months. There's also a grant available for the calf feeder, huge labour saver. As I said, there's a huge number out there. Ireland's well-established calf feeder market, as the majority of our customers will be feeding powder. So the grant for the standard farmer is 4,858, and for the young farmer, they're bumped up to well over €7,000. So just something to consider. The current scheme, as far as we're aware, is ending this year. We know what's available now. It's uncertain what's available next year. So I just maybe suggest speak to your advisor and put in an application if that type of investment is on your horizon. So what we're going to do now is, there's a lot of questions after coming in. I have beside me one of our senior engineers, Conor Clark. So if there's any real technical questions or questions relating to service or serviceability, I will relay them on to Conor, and hopefully I'll be able to answer the rest. Thanks very much, folks. Thanks for your attention. Delighted to introduce Conor Clark. He's one of our senior engineers. I know he looks like a young fella, but he's almost 7 years experience with Lely Mullingar. Very well trained, very well educated, one of our experts in farm robotics and automation. So Conor, this is going to be like the rapid fire buzz around. We try to get through these as best we can, okay? And
yeah, I'll have a go ahead anyway.
Moving on to the cam, Conor, what power does it need? So I'm assuming the biggest seller we have is a 2-station feeder. What sort of power supply does that need?
Yeah, that's just the same as the Discoveries in that we just tell the farmer to put in a 16 amp blue socket. That'll get them away, you know.
How does the Lely calf feeder clean? Has it got an automatic wash?
It has. The recommended is 2 washes a day. So there's 3 cycles in the wash. It does a hot pre-rinse, and then it does its main hot wash, and it takes in chemical, about 20 ml of chemical, and then it just does a post flush with hot water as well. So I think it takes about 10 minutes now, and the recommended is twice a day. I think the default is 7 AM and 10 PM.
Okay. It's one of the strong points of the Foster Technic machine made in Germany. And look, admittedly, it is sold by a couple of other companies as well. It's the same machine, just with a different sticker. That's the truth of it. But it has an exceptionally reliable, high quality wash and hygiene system. So it's one of the reasons, you know, you have very little issues with the Lely Calm calf feeder because of that, with any issues of sickness in calves. It's one of the main buying reasons people go with it. Very simple user interface, and it's very reliable. As Dennis Condren said, there's not a lot of wear parts. It's simple, it's reliable, it does the job, and I guess that's why there's so many. It's around a long time. It's been well perfected. A question from James: can it feed whole milk?
I'd take that. Yeah, it can feed whole milk, so it's a separate, it's a different machine. We call it the combi feeder, so it can take in whole milk, and it can feed the calves the whole milk. Yeah. I don't think we have too many of them going, but there is definitely a few out there, so we can get you more information on that.
We don't have too many of them because our service engineers don't like them, and the reason they don't like them is because they're not just as reliable as a standard machine. And the reason they're not as reliable is because if you don't have good quality milk being fed into the Lely Calm calf feeder, the valves get blocked, and then you have issues. And if you're set up for an automatic calf feeder, look, you need to be working reliably 7 days a week. You know, it can be tricky if you go out on a Sunday morning and it's not working and you're set up for an automatic calf feeding system. It's a bit of a headache to look after it. So you can jump in there, Connor, but we wouldn't have a big appetite for feeders, for the combi feeder that does the whole milk as well. We would be very enthusiastic about the standard machine because it's reliable, it's easy to service, customers are happy.
Yeah, there's a good few different bits and pieces with the combi. You know, as you say, you have to have the hygiene, obviously, with it's supplying its own milk. Maybe it has to be cleaned more often, and I suppose the powder is it's stable. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, it's not that, don't take this the wrong way, folks. It's an option that's there, but we wouldn't promote it that highly. We wouldn't push it that highly. You'd have to accept that if you decided that was the best option for you, it just won't be as reliable as a standard machine. That's our experience. Mainly because you need to have high standards regarding the milk that you're allowing feed into it.
Yeah.
A question from Seamus: how close to the mixer can you have? Do you have to have, or can you have, the calf feeding stations?
Well, what we do tell people in that situation, the closer the better, always, you know. But we have ones, you know, at the station up to 5 meters away. But like after that, you're pushing it, you know. You know, if you had to go maybe across this small bit of a feed passage or something, it'll be fine. But no, the closer the better is the proper answer there.
A question from Seamus again: is this came up a few? Is there finance on the calf feeder? Yes, there's finance on the calf feeder. You can have it on hire purchase, but if you have it on hire purchase, you can't draw down the grant. But all the banks will give you a term loan on the calf feeder, and on all the products they're available under Milk Flex as well through your co-op. If you're one of the eligible co-ops, you can put them on Milk Flex as well. So that's a good scheme, to be fair. A question from Colin: can you monitor the calf feeder remotely, Connor?
Yeah, so you can do it, yeah, and I've heard it's a very good job. There's only 1 or 2 farms using it, and they're very happy. So all you need is an internet connection on the farm and a PC, and then you can dial in remotely then from your phone if you're working or something, and you can see when the calves was last fed and which of them is on the list to be fed, and it gives it gives you a different graphs and different reports. And yeah, you can, yeah, that's the answer. Yeah.
So all the Lely calf feeders that have been sold in the last 2 years can actually are enabled that you can connect in. If you have internet in the yard, and as Connor mentioned, you can download an app and you can see all the information. It is quite good, but admittedly not an awful lot of people are using it. But I can see it becoming more popular in the future.
Yeah.
A lot of our customers, you know, they have a very busy spring. They're crazy busy February, March, April, get through their work, and then calf feeders put away, not taken out again till the following February. That's why a lot of times we're trying to work with the client and make it a mobile option. So Dennis Condren's was bought to the ground in situ. It doesn't move. He's a luxury having a calf shed that's fairly permanent. whereas a lot of other people, the calf shed could be used for something else later on after calving season or calf rearing season. So a lot of guys, it's set up in such a way that it's easy moved. There was a question on the grant, on the amount of the grant that we presented. Yeah, I should have said that's a grant on a 3-station calf feeding system. It's a bit less if you buy a 2-station feeder. It's more if you go for a 4-station feeder. There's questions on second hands. Second hands crop up from time to time, guys, but not that often. There's a couple of questions on lead time. So we've actually taken delivery of all our calf feeders for next season already. Reason being, we were slightly concerned we wouldn't get them. We normally used to get our deliveries in November, December, and install heavy in that time of the year and have everything up running before Christmas. But this year we took delivery early because we were concerned about getting them when we wanted them, and I think we were right, because lead times now, if we order them now, I don't think we'll get them by the end of the year. So we have calf feeders in stock. We have a certain number, and please God, when we'll sell all of those. So they're available at the moment. If it's something you're interested in, you can put down a deposit. We can hold it for you, and as long as it's installed before Christmas, everyone's happy. But we don't want to be installing calf feeders in January and February. To be fair, we want to get them all out of the way by Christmas and everyone well sorted and well organized. Connor, I think that's the most of the questions. There's a lot of similar questions asked, but I think we've answered. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. I also want to thank Derek O'Halloran, Dennis Condren, Mervyn Glendenning for their testimonials and for giving up at their time. These guys didn't get much notice. Mervyn was called maybe half an hour before we started recording, so fair play to him. We were going somewhere else and it fell through, and he took the call, and fair play to him, and appreciate that. I also want to thank William Conlon for putting everything together, and he's our own in-house Stephen Spielberg, so really appreciate his efforts, and Sean Callan as part of the backroom team and helping coordinate everything. So appreciate your time, appreciate your attention. If anyone wants any further information, if you just call the office here in Mullingar, Lely Centre, Mullingar, we'd be delighted to talk to you, and we look forward to meeting you sometime in the future. Thank you very much.